We are talking all things basketball recruiting from Michigan State's incoming monster class to, hey, what's going around the rest of the Big Ten, all with Jason Jordan of Sports Illustrated. Let's go.
Are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
My favorite people of all time, yes, of course, the listeners and viewers of Locked On Spartans. How you doing? And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, you know it's not just me. We have a new, but soon-to-be familiar face as we have Jason Jordan of Sports Illustrated. But before I let this dapper gentleman talk, hey, I'd like to thank LinkedIn Jobs for being the official college recruiting sponsor across the Locked On College Network. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Terms and conditions apply. Jason, how on earth you doing, man? Everything going okay at your end of the world?
Yeah, doing great, man. How about you?
Oh, come on. MSU sitting with a top 5, arguably top 3 recruiting class in basketball. Yeah. Our football team hasn't lost a game yet. Like this is like peak happiness right now for a college sports fan. Everything seems to be going okay.
I get it.
Obviously, we're going to get to a lot of this because as the director of basketball recruiting at Sports Illustrated, you might know a thing or two about what's going on with Michigan State, the world of recruiting. So without further ado, let's just talk about it because this has all state slappies like me buzzing. This class is fun. So with that said, as they lock in 4 recruits, top 3 class, as a recruiting expert, what's your reaction to Tom Izzo pulling in this class? Was it like kind of a surprise, like, oh, Tom Izzo's not dead yet? Or is it more like, no, I'm not surprised. He was actually never really dead and everyone was kind of overblowing this whole last few years sort of thing?
Yeah, probably more so that. I mean, a guy like Tom Izzo is never he's always got I'm an Entourage fan. And so, I don't know if you're familiar with the show, but I never forget the scene when Johnny Chase was talking to his agent and he was like, "You think I got a chance to land this role?" He was like, "Hey, you're Johnny Chase. You always got it." So that's Tom Izzo, right? If he's in the den, coaches know to be worried, So definitely his name it still rings out. That's definitely an offer that when I'm talking to an elite level recruit, it's like a giddy type of conversation. That's the tone in which that they talk about Izzo and Michigan State for sure.
And no shortage of programs that you have to follow, you have to track, especially elite programs. But when it comes to like Tom Izzo, what is it that separates him from other coaches or other programs when you are talking to high-level recruits about their decisions coming up?
Everybody says the same thing. He's so real. Like he's so real and raw, and it's like, look, man, I know you're good and all that, but X, Y, maybe you could do this, and maybe you could do that, or maybe you do this really well. Like I don't know, or he'll just be like, if you're doing something really well, he's not the coach that's going to be like, I'm not going to tell him that because he can't. No, if you're doing something great, I'm going to tell you. If you're doing something not so great, I'm really going to tell you. And but they all say, recruits, at this level, they say that. Like older guys always tell him, he genuinely cares. Like,
gotcha.
He's the guy who still keeps in touch with guys from, year 1 and 2. So that's definitely the reputation that precedes him on the trail.
Gotcha. And so, and this is a question I've gotten from a lot of state fans, and who better to ask than you, a guy that's pretty locked into recruiting. But and it's a simple question, but maybe a difficult answer. But hey, this is a great class, top 3 class. Michigan State hasn't been necessarily bad in recruiting the last few years, but it hasn't been this good in a while. Right. So the question I keep getting is why? Like, why has it gotten so good this year? Like, what happened this year that didn't happen the other years?
That's kind of an overreach. Like, everybody has ebbs and flows. You know what I'm saying? Like, so maybe this will be one of their runs. And that's how it works. Like, Duke's been on a run for a while. Kentucky's, let their fans tell it. Before now, it was kind of like, oh, we know we got those 3 5-stars, but those weren't the 5 stars we wanted.
Right.
So
Tough life.
it could be worse. And I think
Yeah.
people there are just seasons for stuff. And I think it's just I don't think they're doing anything different. I know Tom Izzo ain't changing much. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like his approach is going to be his approach, and it resonates. And sometimes it doesn't get the 5-star kid, the top 10 kid, and just it's happening to do it now. And you got to think he was in early with Xavier, and Xavier kind of blew up this summer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, a lot of people are like, "Oh, they got Xavier Booker because they're late to the party." Because he's like a latecomer, and this is he did it. He's done it for a while, but he did it in front of he got the attention for doing it this spring and summer. So now that they got him, it's kind of like, oh man, and they got this top 3 player in the class. They're back, but a lot of people forget he was a late bloomer on the national scene, respectively.
And now here we are sitting with a top 5, top 3 class. I think it's safe to say somewhere in that range. I mean, life is pretty good. And last I checked the calendar, it's the middle of August, which we haven't even started the 2022 season. So how important is it to wrap up a class this early? Does it really matter in the world of college basketball recruiting, or in the grand scheme of things, when it all balances out, is an early class wrapped up not that big of a difference than wrapping up a class later in the cycle?
Well, I'll tell you, it definitely helps the coach's anxiety.
Sure. And ours. Yeah.
They definitely want to wrap it up early, but grand scheme, for the people that you guys want, you might have to wait. You know what I'm saying? Because they're prima donnas, and these guys can do whatever they want, and they're not worried about the portal like other schools might, have players say, hey, you better take your spot, or you might have it, but you're going after Jeremy Fears and Xavier Booker and those guys, and so they're always going to have a spot. So some guys you're going to have to wait for, but yeah, sometimes you do want to lock in a little early, and because of the portal, even 2024 guys, they're thinking about popping a little earlier now. So I think we'll see that more, as we go on with what's going on in our world now.
Gotcha. And, we'll talk more about the 2024 class. Obviously, we're going to talk about the 2023 class in the next segment. But before that, just want to clear the air right now. And I'm Jason, I just met you about 10 minutes ago, but I'm sorry, I'm going to make you the bad guy right now, because over the weekend, Tom Izzo goes to Draymond Green's wedding. LeBron James is at the wedding. They take a picture together. Bronny James, LeBron James' son, of course. He's a 2023 recruit. Is there any fire there, Jason Jordan? Is Bronny James definitely a target for Michigan State? Don't break our hearts and tell he's not, Jason. No, I'll let you be the bad guy and say there's no chance.
I mean, I don't know. Bronny, as everyone could imagine. I mean, I think my guy Paul put out. He finally talked. Bronny doesn't talk.
Right.
He's very controlled, and he doesn't talk. But I think Paul was out overseas with them, and so Paul Biancardi, ESPN, great friend of mine, and so he put out a list of I think UCLA, USC, or I'll be very honest. I mean, are you guys recruiting him?
Probably not.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, your class is pretty good. I don't.
Yeah.
Hey, you want Bronny would be great addition for sure, but I would be surprised. I don't know. I know he's listing a lot of colleges. I'm curious to see how that works out. I know a lot of college coaches at Peach Jam told me that the word is that he's going pro, and they are very much adamant that he's going pro, and that was the case. Peach Jam was 3 weeks ago. So I mean, maybe things changed, but that was the list that he says the schools are reaching out to him. I haven't heard of the offers, so maybe. Here's the thing. He takes some visits. I believe he's going to college a little more. So I'm going to let him lead it on that, And they keep him close to the best, and I'm not mad at that. But as soon as he starts taking some visits, maybe I'll start to believe he's going to college.
So we'll give it like a 0.01% chance he ends in East Lansing. That's a fair assessment.
So with that, for now, things can change. We'll see.
That's 0.01% higher than I thought it was as we got into the summer. So we'll We'll take that. Why not? So that sounds like a fun time.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot more to talk about with our guy Jason here. But Jason, I'm so sorry. I just got to say goodbye to you to a hot second. I'm just going to send you to the bench really quick because I got to talk to the fine folks. That is right. This is an important time to do this read right here because this is drive sober or get pulled over. You're hanging out with some friends and putting back a few drinks. It could very well be this upcoming tailgating season. A few becomes too many, and as the evening comes to an end and people start to head out, you think of calling for a ride. But nah, you live nearby. You can make it home okay. It's no big deal. And besides, what are the odds you get pulled over anyway? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? Your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you lose your job, you total your car, you kill someone. Oh yeah, that's a sobering reality of what could happen. Everyone knows about the risk of drunk driving. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. And that's why police officers are out right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, no. Think again, play it safe, plan ahead, use a rideshare app, call someone that you know. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's life forever. So drive sober or get pulled over. And as we welcome Jason Jordan, Director of Basketball Recruiting at Sports Illustrated. Hey, just want to thank everyone for making us your first listen every single day. Jason, obviously having a lot of fun here with, not just this conversation. I'm having a great time so far, but also just following MSU basketball recruiting. Four great names: Coen Carr, Gehrig Norman, Xavier Booker, Jeremy Fears. Of those four, who is the most college-ready player? Which sounds ridiculous because their senior high school seasons haven't even started yet, but if there's a guy that you're pretty sure can be a day one contributor when 2023 does roll around, who are you going to give that award to?
Well, I'm definitely going to say Xavier Booker, right?
Okay, that easy? Yeah.
And 6'10" does it all. Positionless has become cliche.
Sure.
But if ever there were a player that I would be cliche about and say positionless, that would definitely be Xavier Booker. I mean, he plays more like a point forward role. Think about like a young Lamar Odom.
Okay.
That I may be dating myself there, but look, people know him through Khloe Kardashian, but Lamar Odom was a bad man. I promise you that. He has rings to prove it. But just very versatile, can get out 6'10". People use the unicorn label too, but he's a guy who does things that he air quotes shouldn't be doing because of his size. He can handle the ball. He's a great playmaker. I think that's one of the more underrated parts of his game. But great slasher, can play with his back to the basket. He's knocking down shots as well. So at his size and with his length, I think he's a guy that's absolutely gonna produce from day one. We did like a mock NBA draft based on only taking high school kids, just something we did around NBA draft time, and he went number 2 behind Mackenzie Mbako, who was headed to Duke. But he could have gone number 1, right? I call flack for that. People were like, Xavier Booker's better. So definitely a guy who's had obviously an amazing summer, but the way in which he scored is more telling than even the production, because that's I think he's going to be a guy who's better as he levels up. And so that's going to start there in East Lansing.
Gotcha. And this could be a dumb question coming up. I'll let you be the judge of this, but obviously it's very popular that Xavier Booker's summer is where he really started to improve from a guy that was, in the 80s or the 90s being ranked there all the way to this top 3 recruit. What happened? Was it just that he was getting more exposure to more influential people in the recruiting world? Or was it just drastic improvement, some cocktail of both? Or what was the reason that he went all the way from 80s to arguably number 1 in the entire country?
Well, it should tell you that you shouldn't put a whole lot of stock in the rankings. Let's start with that.
Okay. All right,
you know what I'm saying? But I'll say this, people don't, on the most basic level, you don't know what you don't know. So he wasn't on on the radar, and he wasn't in the type of tournaments that would have gotten him seen. And he didn't play on a major circuit even this summer, but he played in specific showcase events and stuff like that. And so he really blew up. He really seized the moment. And then, there's definitely been some improvement over the last year, but give him a lot of credit. He's done it for a while too. And I think, the stars just lined up, and he's taken the moment, and he's, it's ascended even from there, because he's been dominating all spring, since the spring. He's literally dominated every tournament and showcase he's been in.
See, love to hear that.
Quite
That's what
literally.
I'm talking about. Right? Yeah, no kidding. And so there's also 3 other big names too. Obviously, point guard Jeremy Fears, the first commit of this class, and then you have 2 wing players in Gehrig Norman, Coen Carr. Of those 3 players, which one is Jason Jordan's favorite prospect of that trio?
Oh, that's tough. But it would definitely be between Jeremy and Coen. Coen's a guy I saw a lot. Really came on my radar last December at the Chick-fil-A when he was doing Sports Center top 10 dunks in games.
Sure.
He's the East Bay in the layup line. I was like, what in the world? But I think he could potentially, he or Caden Cooper, who is another 2023 wing shooting guard, that one of them two is the best dunker in high school basketball.
Okay.
Without a doubt. Right. So he's going to bring the wow plays to East Lansing. He's going to be the guy who's like a utility guy who you're going to use in a lot of different ways. Guards he's long, interchangeable on the wing, but definitely a guy who competes on the defensive end, and you'll be able to Tom will be able to plug him into a lot of different lineups. So he's a guy I really like. But I mean, Jeremy's Jeremy. He had 17 points in the gold medal game for the U17. I mean, I'm not going to say a guy with a gold medal isn't one of my favorites,
Sure.
So,
it's tough.
I mean, he's had a productive summer, just a heady point guard, scores on all 3 levels. And I just like the way he dictates tempo. He's always in control. He's a guy that Tom Izzo is going to win a lot of games with, because he's truly the extension of the coach on the floor in a lot of different ways, vocally, by example. So he's a guy I'm definitely very high on. And then, Gehrig's no slouch either, but when you have these 3, it's like, oh, hey, I'm good too. But he's
right.
At the end of the day, he's going to stretch the defense. He's his shot making ability is his greatest attribute. And so at 6'6", with that size, and he can get in there and mix it up and rebound and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, he's going to get his time knocking shots down. So amazing class. I like the versatility. I like the interchangeable parts. And yeah, to your point, one of the best in the last few years for sure.
Yeah, I'm just getting so fired up. But then I gotta remind myself that we still have another season before these guys even touch soil in East Lansing. So gotta check myself, pump the brakes here a little bit. But with that said, hey, let's look forward to 2024. Well, why not? Let's just skip ahead 2 seasons right now. Any names that Michigan State fans should already be, not getting excited about, but just keeping tabs on right now, even though this is, so far down the line. But hey, when you wrap up a class this early, maybe we could do this.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that to your earlier point, it does give you a chance to kind of focus on the future. I would say Jason Richardson's kid, Jace, point guard. I know you guys are on him, Jesse McCulloch, but the one is James Brown, 6'10" center from Chicago, had a really big summer, and he's close to Jeremy Fears. I mean, I think they're like sandbox type friends. And so, hey,
sweet.
And Jeremy's a great recruiter. Coen talked about we broke Coen's commitment. And so he was like, man, Jeremy was on me he was hassling me. Like we were in the group chat, and he's a great recruiter. So with this kid as his friend, I mean, that can't hurt. That definitely can't hurt.
No doubt. And so, you bring up Jason Richardson's kid, Jace Richardson, who I believe is over in Vegas playing there. But this could be a national recruitment. The kid is a top 25 kid on a lot of recruiting sites. Mm-hmm. Obviously, a legacy recruit, but it's not going to be like just this easy for Michigan State, right? Like, who are some other teams that MSU is going up against?
Yeah, I mean, it's really early for him. I think USC's in there. Okay. The West Coast schools, Arizona, a couple other ones but again, he's a guy I don't think it'll be over soon. So I mean, like you said, it's 2024. I think he's a guy that just getting his feet wet in it. And I mean, I'd rather have a legacy. I'd rather have your dad having been an All-American there than not. Will it help? Sure, absolutely, right.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely want that if you can tout that as something you can put a notch under your belt. So I definitely think it'll help you guys.
And we're going to transition from being locked on Spartans to let's do a little bit of locked on Big Ten recruiting right now. Let's just fly around the rest of the Midwest. Obviously, Ohio State is up there with recruiting, right? Like they are also building a really, really nice class down there in Columbus. But is there a third fiddle for the 2023 class, or is there a program that's kind of in the neighborhood of Ohio State and Michigan State, or what are you feeling here?
I mean, they're obviously the top two. I would say Maryland's done well in this class. I would say Indiana. I really like Indiana. And it's a two-man class as it stands, but Gabe Cupps is one of the best point guards that I've seen all summer. Really like him. Very, very much like Jeremy, very aware, very dominant. He's like a ball dominant guard, but you want him to have the ball because he's such a great facilitator. And he's teaming up with Ja'Kai Newton in that class, and Ja'Kai is a great combo guard who you can use interchangeably, but he can fill it up from all three levels. But he really excels as a shooter and a slasher. So I like the combination of them. And I don't think Indiana's done either, but I would say Maryland and Indiana will probably be in that second tier.
Gotcha. And then, just like I said, and, a lot of people have said too, but joining Michigan State in that first tier is the Buckeyes. What makes that class special? And, what should State fans kind of already be nervous about in 2023 when these guys get on campus?
Well, definitely their latest commit, Scotty Middleton, right? He's definitely the one that makes that class. I like GW too, and I like Devin Royal. Those are great pieces to go with him, but I think Scotty's probably definitely the most talented. I shouldn't say that. Scotty is the most talented player in that class, but I like the versatility in that one too. Like they all three of those guys in that 4-man class, but all three of those guys I'm talking about are interchangeable and they can guard a lot of different positions. And you're sensing a theme here. This is where college basketball is going, and you got to have guys that you can plug in and who can start the break, who can take the ball and go. We don't have to get out to the point guard. We're just but what you do is you're flooding the court with playmakers, right? So you're guys that can get a piece of the paint, kick out, get a piece of the paint, finish, go to the free throw line, just make plays for all the guys on the court. And so, that builds chemistry, but it also helps you win. And so that's what a lot of college coaches are trying to build their rosters around for sure.
And on the contrary of, teams that are impressing in the Big Ten, any teams that are like oddly underwhelming so far for 2023 recruiting, or is it pretty much all standard? Where are we at for the underwhelming teams for 2023?
I took a look. I wouldn't say anybody's underwhelming. I would say based off August, right? I'm going to look at it being August.
Right.
I wouldn't say anybody's like dropping the ball. I wouldn't say that. I think everybody's, in the running, and I think there are a lot of guys who have decent chances at certain kids, but the transfer portal, it just throws a monkey wrench into different things. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say you're dropping the ball with the portal looming, and the portal's going to go next year.
I know.
Yeah. So
I'm going to go off script here. While we're talking about the portal right now, Michigan State didn't add anyone in the portal in the offseason. Yeah. Your take on that, is that like an odd move, you think? Is that a smart move, or like kind of how do you just see a team like Michigan State with like maybe 9 playable scholarship players, maybe 10, not do anything in the portal? Or is that just the way basketball's going to go now, where you don't have to fill out all 12 scholarships just because you have them there, or 13 scholarships, I should say?
Well, I think they're at a level where they can pick who they want, and so I know they've inquired about some transfers. I'll say that, and you got to think. It's just a new day. I'll tell you. I'll put it like this: Tom Izzo's been around for a while, right? We've heard of him, right? So I know, at the top tier of the transfer portal, there are, I talk to a lot of coaches that say, man, the entitlement of these kids, in the portal is just something that, old school coaches can't get with, and so
Right.
I know, and it's not Tom Izzo. So let me say this, but I'll tell you a quick story. I know we got to go. There's a well-known coach told me that they called a well-known recruit in the portal personally. And so, he's like, hey, it's so-and-so. And, I just, really love your game. And, I just want to let you know we're interested in you. Want to get you down on campus and, talk about the possibilities. And the first thing out of this kid's mouth was, oh, yeah, coach, no disrespect, but would you mind talking to my agent?
Cool.
Now imagine a coach, a very well, all coaches have a little ego, right?
Sure.
Probably a lot of ego. Just imagine that. Just imagine that bump. Now that kid didn't go to that school. I bet you probably know why. But,
you don't say.
They're all like acclimating. A lot of coaches say this, and I think it's the realest thing ever. Is we're all learning on the fly right now with this portal and NIL and everything in the crazy world that we're living in now. And I think at some point it'll regulate, but not right now. So we'll see. We'll see.
So that's why Jay Wright stepped away. Did I get the coach right or no?
Well, Jay's gone, Kay's gone, Roy's gone. You think they may have known that some things were coming? I think so.
Sure.
Yeah.
If that was Tom Izzo on the phone, I think not only does he hang up, but he throws his phone against the near cinder block wall as fast as he possibly could. So
yeah. He might even say a couple words that he can't repeat.
You think so? Yeah, Tom Izzo? No, not the Tom I know. Come on. Oh man, no, that's love that story. Love what a note to end on right there. That's awesome, Jason. I mean, obviously, would love to have you on again. I'm no doubt that we will have you on in the future. But hey, this is a great time. Loved your insight. Loved obviously everything you dropped on us, but also more importantly, your time, Jason. Loved your time. Thank you so much for your generosity, your knowledge. Where can the fine folks follow you on Twitter?
Jason Jordan Jason Jordan SI on Twitter, Jason C. Jordan on Instagram. So, and everything all the time, SI.com, college basketball section. I'm always there. So hit me up.
Awesome. There we go. We'll do. Jason, you're the man, and everyone else, hey, keep it tuned. We're 5 days a week as we lead off to kickoff. I know we did all basketball today, but yeah, football coming in hot. But until then, hey, keep it real. Love you all. Go green.